They lived during very prejudiced time. And despite that, they always demonstrated an unconditional love to others, definitely to each other, and to me. Because of that, I always had a sacred, close relationship. If you know me, you've heard me say that I love my grandparents more than anyone on the planet loves their grandparents. We've been so, so close. But also because of that, I knew that I had to have a proper coming out talk with my grandparents. And so every New Year's Eve, I would deny invitations to cool parties and instead go and hang out with my grandparents. I just have a really good time. I love kids and old people. I love connecting and hanging out with kids and old people. I think it's because we're so authentic, right? Like when you're born authentic, and it's not until you grow up a little bit older so you can kind of jaded. And old people, they're just so old, they don't care anymore. They're just who they are. And so, and I love my grandparents, they're precious. So one New Year's Eve, and I knew like it's time for the talk. I was nervous. And my grandfather had just fallen asleep. And he left me, after a bottle of Prosecco, alone with my grandmother. I thought, okay, this is the time. I had just enough liquid courage in me to do this. And so my grandmother was standing over at her kitchen sink and she was washing a glass. And I looked over and I said, Grandma, I need to tell you something. And you may want to sit down for this. And she just looked at me. She slowly started walking over the table. She sat down. And she said, what is it, Mandy? I said, pet name. She really wasn't allowed to call me that. And I said, well, I'm in a relationship, insert name of girlfriend at the time. And we're like together, we're not just friends, we're like a thing, we're a couple. And my grandma looked at me. She closed her eyes, she took a deep breath, and she just started shaking her head. And my heart sunk. And I thought, what have I done? And have I ruined our relationship? And what if it's never the same? And I couldn't stand the thought of disappointing them. I started to panic. And then all of a sudden, she opens her eyes. She glares at me in the sternest voice. She says, but she is just so bossy to you. I was like, wait, what? And she went on to give me the lecture of my life about how I don't need to let people boss me around, about how I deserve to be treated, and that I need to stand up for myself. And I'm not even going to pretend to remember what else she said that day, but all I remember is that I got up, and I went to the other side of the table, and I just hugged her, and I showered her with kisses. The next morning, it's when my grandfather leaves. And I still get choked up when I think about it today. I'm sure he always probably knew that I was gay. Have you seen 4 Christmases? Vince Vaughn. Haircut still fly. I'm sure my grandfather probably already knew. When he got confirmation that I was indeed gay, all he cared about was that when I would find the one, that I would be unwavering in my commitment to them, and that I would love and honor them in the same way that he would want them to love and honor me. And it was in his early 80s. Now, my grandfather passed away in September of 2014. He passed away from a long battle with Parkinson's. In the last year of his life, he was bound to an electric wheelchair. And even though it would take him an hour to get from one end of the house to the other end of the house, even though he could barely take care of himself, every single night he would still wheel his wheelchair all the way into my grandma's bedroom, over to her dresser, open up her drawer, take out her pajamas, lay them out for her so she could put them on before she went to bed. He did that every single night. The day that he died, we knew that the time had come, and my grandmother, she got up, she went over to her bedroom, and she put on her finest outfit, and she made herself look beautiful for him. She came over into the other room, and she sat down at his home hospice bed, and she held his hand, and she began to tell him the most loving things the most beautiful things I've ever heard one lover express to another, about her feelings for him, about their life together, how much fun they had. She went on, and then she looked at him, and she thanked him for loving her so well. And she said, Jesus is waiting for you. She said, it's okay for you to go, and I'm going to be okay. When I think about the kind of unconditional love and the capacity of love that we should hold for each other, when I think about the kind of unconditional love that we hope to someday find someone for the rest and share with someone for the rest of our lives, I think about them, and I think that that is the kind of love that we come out for. I want to leave you with a final call to action, and it is to make love. My friend Steph is here in the room today. She's got the camera. You probably see her around the camera. She started a movement called Promote Love, the Promote Love movement. You can follow the hashtag Promote Love online. I love, it's one of my favorites. It also has a Twitter and Instagram account. It's one of my favorite accounts to follow because it just shares people's love stories. I want to encourage you to follow along. There's also these really rad, cool Promote Love shirts. But be yourself authentically and unapologetically and set out to make love, because I believe with all of my heart that what the world and our workplace so desperately needs right now is more love makers.